Hey guys, in this video, I'm going to be running you through my pre-trip inspection checklist, which is perfect for my truck, and a whole bunch of tips that you guys need to get onto. So number one, a bit of an idea of what we do. So make sure you got the oils. You know you got a few problems with your car, you know you got a diff issue, you know you got a transmission issue, you know what fluids, you know your car, but hey, this is what we run through for mine. So the oils, brakes, always checking my brakes. If you can't stop, that's kind of bad. You got transmission, diff. Now your diffs, don't just go filling them up all the time. Leave your diff alone, but I'll talk about that in a second. Coolant. What's the difference between red and green? I get asked a lot. Green's what I use because it's the standard cast tank. Red's more for your alloy sort of stuff. WD-40 or inox, it's good stuff, not just for your feed, but it's good for cleaning. You are going to need to clean a few things if you haven't taken care of it. A light. Do you know how many times a light has exposed a hidden wire or something? Make sure you got a light, because when you get underneath, it's pretty dark. A light. Tools. Oh, it's quite obvious. I don't know what tools I need, which is why I got a massive lot of tools. A Yulby. You never know when you need one of these. Probably not going to need one, but you never know. So get the biggest one you got, because it's cool. We're also going to be going through a voltmeter, how to use one, what to check, because if your batteries die or issues like that, that can ruin a trip. Your fridge is going to stop working. When your beer gets warm, it wasn't worth the trip. Tire pressure. If you're not checking your tire pressures before you head on a big trip, you're not thinking straight. You can just use your standard one. In the workshop here, we've got a bigger one that hooks up to compressor, but I just honestly use a quickie, pretty good. Coffee or beer, depending what time of day it is. Spares. I've got a bunch of spares that I know that I often need, so I'm going to bring them along just in case. So always have your spares. If you don't have your spares, it's okay. You're going to give yourself a few weeks before the trip. Notes. I have a very long list of notes here from my last one. Notes, and more important than anything, Google. Make sure you have your friend Google. He's smarter than any mechanic I've ever met. That's not true. Call a friend, book a mechanic if you're confused. But guys, ton of information online. So there's some real basics: fluids, tools, voltmeter, pressure, spares. That's what we're going to hook into. Now, I'm going to run you through my checklist. Obviously, pre-trip inspection for an off-road trip, we need to check all the off-road gear. So, get a winch, let's check that out. Stop. All right, so this winch is a bit dusty, needs a bit of a clean. Another video for that. So, one thing, get it all the way out, all the way in, check that it's working. No binds. Communication. You got me there, Sarah?
Hey Barney, got ya.
All right guys, so you know that works. So another trick is don't just talk 2 meters away. Get some distance between yourselves. Make sure that it's working at a good distance. It doesn't take long to fix it up. I mean, these things are amazing. I mean, there's different styles, but make sure it's working so you can talk, radio each other. I use the HEMA map just because I love the latest sort of features. So make sure your app's up to date with the map of where you're going. Check your diff lockers. Get out there on a bit of dirt, on a bit of a hill, put it in 4-drive, check to see all your gear's working. That way, that part of the game is good to go and you'll enjoy your trip a bit more. Pretty simple thing. First thing to check is your safety. So lights and brakes. So what we're going to do here, we're just going to check our lights. So front lights, they work. Indicators, light bar. All right, so also going to check the rear. It's always easy just to do this with a mate, so I'm going to head down the back here. Give me the indicators, brakes, perfect. Hey guys, a bit of a tip. In the dusty conditions, I can't see your car. At low light, I can't see your car. Please turn your lights on when you're driving. You're going to see it at dusk. You've always got that guy who's got his parkers on but not his lights. But on the PDR on some dusty roads, it's really difficult to see certain coloured cars. Make sure your lights are working. Make sure your indicators are working. If you've got a camper trailer or a caravan and you're towing, take the extra time to make sure that works. Safety is paramount. Lighting, indicators, it doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm telling you, I've been out there and I can't see a car coming towards me. That's dangerous. So let's make sure we check our lighting, we check everything. Next, we're going to jump into the engine bay. So run through the lights, now we need to run through the heart of the car, the engine bay, which is what makes the whole thing tick and drive. So you've got to run through all your fluids. So A couple of quick tips. A rag, a light. I can tell you what, this one is pretty good. Lights everything up, I can really see some stuff. Sounds simple, but get a rag. So number one, guys, a really healthy tip. Park the car on a block of driveway somewhere overnight. You're gonna see oil leak, diff leak, water leaks. You're gonna see your leaks. Just let it sit there. You can see what's leaking. Find out where it's leaking from. That's important. Also, another quick tip, give the car a bit of a wash. Now don't go using heavy degreaser, use a light grade degreaser. Clean it up so you can get in and have a solid look. So what you're looking for is perished lines or your lines. You wanna make sure all your electricals are working. So always looking around, seeing what's perished. You should know your car, but one of the things we're gonna do, check your oil. So, not a big deal. Clean it. Do it when it's cold, stick it back in there. It's pretty simple. I think we've all done it oils before. 2-3 seconds. And we've got pretty good oil. Lucky for me, I've got a pretty good team here at the workshop that check that all the time. So always checking my oils. Oil's only one part of it, guys. One of the other things you want to be doing is your water levels. So making sure you got the right coolant. We use a green coolant, red coolant, whatever you use, make sure it's right. Checking my levels. Levels are good. Checked underneath, there's no leaking at all. One of the other things, always checking a brake. So over the time, I've had a few brake problems, just with the fluid leaking. So I've definitely checked my levels there, making sure, probably a little bit down. So I'll give that a bit of a clean. So with your brake fluid, one of the issues is brake fluid is corrosive. So have a rag, pop your lid off, fill it up, don't overfill it, make sure it's at the right level, clean it up and wash it down. If you drip anything, just wash. Max amount of water is a great way to dilute this down. That's gonna get that all the way down. If you got a catch can, drain it, check it. You should be checking every 5,000. So get your catch can. If you don't have a catch can, can I just say, get one. That's how you save engines. A pre-filter, check your filter, check your oil filters, change them. Make sure they're changed. Make sure you're constantly doing that. Hey guys, it sounds silly, but your water, make sure your wipers, I often put new wipers on a big trip, get them a little bit of suds, that just keeps it all clean. Another really cool thing is your radiator. Now these things can leak, but they can also stop cooling. I get it all the time. Oh, why is my radiator overheating? You haven't cleaned out the bugs, and one thing you haven't cleaned out the mud. After a massive trip, every trip, I will hose it down. Not with a gurney or high pressure, just low pressure. Keep them clean. And what that's gonna do is keep it cooling, because if it's blocked, no airflow, no cooling. So make sure your radiator is working. Top it up with the right coolant, clean it properly. One of the issues you are gonna get is your air filter. A lot of people don't realize it. We see it all the time in the dyno. Really doesn't take long, guys. Just check your air filter, just pop it up. Pretty clean, a little bit of dust, but not too bad. Now I just tapped it. I want to see if there's much dust in there. There's not, so it's pretty clean. So we're just going to stick that one back in. I always take a spare one every big trip. I don't want to have any problems. I take a spare air cleaner all the time. I take spare oil filters. I take spare parts. Now, belts. Check your belts. Easiest way to check your belt, turn the car on. You'll hear it slipping. It means you've got a belt problem. So guys, check your fans. Make sure they haven't fatigued. Get in there. Check every single piece of electrical. Make sure if you've got diff breathers, they're working. Check everything. Clamps on your intercoolers. So I'm checking this. I got a little bit of cleaning to do up here, but I've got to make sure my batteries. If my batteries aren't working, that just kills your trip. So I'm going to get my multimeter, check the voltage. So generally on mine, 14's perfect. When I start to get below 12 volts, she ain't charging. So if my crank battery ain't charging and my other batteries are getting drained, we're gonna have all sorts of problems. So I need to know that all my cables are rigid and my voltage is up. Voltage meter, if you don't have one, get one. Off a mate or off a shop. Get the car running, that way we can check. Black to black, red to red. Practically 14, which is pretty perfect. Let's check my auxiliaries. Perfect, so both of my batteries are running perfectly. So do that while the car's running, that way you can check what's happening. Hey guys, that's a quick little run up on the engine bay. So what you want to be doing, filters, oils, water, air, belts, fan, radiator, electrical, get in here, clean it up a day or two before so it's nice and clean. Check all your electrical cables, there's no issues, voltmeter, make sure you know what you're doing. Take a few spares, always take brake fluid just in case. Big trips, it can be hard. Drain your catch can, get yourself prepared. Now, if you're out of your depth, get yourself into a mechanic because they're going to do a much more thorough check. This is a real basic one that I can do before I head out. So, all right, now we're going to get this thing in the air and check underneath the car. All right, guys, so underneath the car here, lucky for me, I own a few hoists, so I can get it under. If you've got a mate wheel hoist, absolutely do it that way. Otherwise, get yourself on some on a trolley, get it on some jacks. Make sure you're safe. Don't just get underneath a car. It has to be stable. This is on its safety, so hoist are pretty mint. Now, get your bash plates off. Check everything you can. We're gonna head to the back here. So I've just checked my sump. Never had a problem with that. It's not a problem. I'm checking all my wiring, plenty of wiring here, making sure she's good. My fuel. Now, I haven't had any problems with the fuel lines, but I am double checking them. I'm checking for rusting, I'm checking for issues. Now, I am gonna be checking my suspension, so swing every nut and bolt, make sure she's tight. Shocks are not perished, things are not perished. Now, here, I do have a bit of a diff leak problem. Now, I've had a few issues here, so I know that. We put a new gasket, glued it all, the locker's working mint, because I actually tested my locker, guys. Don't test your locker on site, test it well in advance. You want to come in, you want to be checking absolutely everything you can when you get it up here, guys. What we're going to head to now, we're going to head to the front, check the front end of the car because that's where I've had issues with the IFS. Obviously I'm going to check the bearings, check the wheels, so come along. Now up the front here, guys, I've had a few problems in the years, a bit too much berserker, not enough driving apparently, so basically I'm checking the boots. So rack end, CVs, I want to know those boots are sealed. The minute you get some dirt in there, it's going to blow apart on my trip. So I'm always checking that. Checking the tension. All my links are tight, which is important. Once your links start coming loose. Also greased everything, check my bearings. Now it's pretty obvious when you're driving the steering's off or there's an issue with it. So you should know previously looking at this that something isn't right, but do not trust it. Get underneath, and I mean swing spanners of everything you can swing. Now don't go and crack stuff that's not meant to be cracked or loosening, but you just want to make sure that the bits and pieces are tight, and that's all I'm talking about. Now, a suspension specialist, the guys that know what they're doing, that's where I go. So quick little plugs of Superior, they're the guys that I send my car to before every trip, and they just look at the bushes, the springs, they look at everything, and generally there's nothing wrong with it, or genuinely there's something is that's small to be checked. So guys, definitely get in here. IFS lights can be tough. Another thing, guys, just going to run through the tyres here. So we're just going to pop over to this one real quickly. Tyres are another mega important part of the safety. So lights, tyres and brakes are super important. So one of the things I always check is the bearings. I go off-road, it can be a bit of a problem. So for a bearing check, wheel off the ground, and you're just giving this thing a good shake. If the wheel's wobbling, you got a problem. And I had a few of those, and dead set, just replace the bearing. They're not cheap on a Hilux, but look, you don't want a bearing problem, you don't want it coming off, you don't want it falling down on you. So, people overlook this. I find it strange that people do, but just even if you just got a quickie or get yourself down to a servo, but get your tire pressure checked. Check your spares. Can I say that again? Too many people don't check the spares. So basically, I run it on the road. I run about 38, 40 pound. Off-road, I set it to the condition. So basically, I just check the pressure, not the morning of, a day or two before, get it on there, check the pressure, easy peasy, that's done. So I know that I'm running at 38 to 40, depending what I want to do, whether I'm towing or whatnot, no pressure, no big deal. The other thing you got to do with your tyres, this one's down. This one's running at about 32, but I know it was a 40. So I got to run around the whole tyre and find what's wrong with it. I think I got a leak, could be the bead, could be a nail, but because I didn't do it the morning of, I'm doing it a few days ahead, I can get this fixed, I can get down to the tyre shop, he can tell me I need a repair. So guys, all these tips, what you got to do is do it well in advance, not the day of, because if there's a major problem, you can't fix it. Last but not least, guys, can I please, your braking is so important. If you're towing, make sure you got the right setup there for braking. But get on the road, get yourself up to speed. You don't need to be, someone say, 40 kilometers an hour, hit that brake hard, make sure you pull up. If you're towing, and if it's your first time towing, you're gonna be nervous, check it. Get that load on before you go and get the kids. Drive at about 40 k's an hour, practice using electronic brake control if you don't have it. Then you could be in a little bit of strife, but electronic brake control is awesome. I've got one on the Prado which controls the trailer, guys. But if you don't, practice braking at low speed. And when you get on the highway and you get going, practice braking, know what you're doing, get used to it. Guys, lights tell me where you are, indicating tells me where you're going. Tires are the king of the road. If they're in good nick, you should be in good nick. Braking and stopping is gonna save lives. Now you wanna be confident in your car, so check your oils, take your spares, check everything, do it well in advance. That way you can have a good time on your trip, have fun, and obviously, if you've got kids, take a little bit of entertainment, because I'm telling you, they're gonna talk the whole 20 hours of your trip. Guys, that's a really quick pre-trip inspection. It's what I genuinely do. The boys in the workshop here, we go through things a lot more detailed, but that is a really good basic start for your pre-trip inspection.